Welcome to Rant on Reels. I'm Michael Fooch.
And I'm Xavier Barnett.
Today on the podcast, we do deep dives into Terminator, Dark Fate, Harriet, and our top 10 movies with robots in them.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited today. How you doing today, Mike?
I am stoked. I've been waiting to rant on Terminator since I finished watching the movie.
Yeah, you saw it last night. I don't even think. Oh,
It's been 24 hours like
24
right
hours
now.
since you've seen it.
And
Okay.
I've been dying to rant on it. I've been dying to talk about it.
All right. Also, don't forget to like us and subscribe. We're on every social platform: Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. And for iTunes and iTunes and Spotify, don't forget to give us a review. It really helps the podcast. Plus, we are gonna read. We're gonna start reading some reviews out loud onto the podcast
As soon as we get some, like I said, one of my bucket list goals is to read a review from a different country, different continent. So send in those reviews.
Please do.
Good or bad.
Send all the bad ones.
I'd rather read a bad one than a good one because I don't like praise.
Yeah, I like you like constructive criticism, eh?
You
You want to work on yourself. You want to get better.
Always. How you doing, Xavier?
I'm doing good.
How's
Oh, so you're just gonna cut me off like that?
Always cut you off. You know how it
Okay.
is.
Yeah, I had a great long week. Getting ready to go to Detroit tomorrow.
Catch I would say a Tigers game, a Pistons game.
Catch a Pistons game.
Tigers
yes.
are out of season.
Yeah, catch.
Who are they playing?
They're playing a quitter in the name of Kyrie Irving.
So they're playing the Nets, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
We
You gonna wear your Kyrie jersey, your Boston Kyrie jersey?
No, I didn't even buy one. I didn't trust him, and I was rightfully so. I'm gonna get a Tatum jersey. But anyways, back to movie news times.
Any news this week? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, we got two people that we got more quitters.
More quitters.
Yeah.
Who's quitting this time?
The D&D. Well, they're not
The
brothers.
D&D.
I always call them brothers, but the D&D squad, the people behind the massive successful Game of Thrones franchise.
Why did they get the name of the D&D?
Because one's like David Du Bois.
Oh,
and one's
okay.
like D.B. Weiss.
Oh, because they start not like Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
Sorry, DD.
I don't know if I said. Did you know one of them wrote Wolverine Origins? Like co-wrote that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So. No wonder. If I knew that, I probably would have gave up on the movie.
Gave up on the movie.
I'm not gave up on when they didn't have the source material to follow. But anyways, they're off the Star Wars trilogy that they were promised.
How do you feel about that?
A lot of people are very happy because ever since Game of Thrones, they were petitioning for Disney to can them. So I know the internet probably feels like it's won, but I'm pretty sure Disney didn't care. I feel like it was more their decision because they also have that deal with Netflix that's worth like $200 million where they're doing a series with Netflix. So they probably want to focus on that.
I heard they said that it was their decision because the Star Wars fandom is toxic. That's what that's what I read. I read that today.
I'm not surprised. Seeing how they just the Game of Thrones fandom has felt. Do you really want to go into another fandom?
And I mean, in their defense, they did create the Game of Thrones fandom. Like that's their created. They just destroyed their own fans.
Yeah, so like, could you imagine? Honestly, I wouldn't even want to write for a Star Wars fan, like for fans.
But if they're, do you know what their trilogy was going to be about anyway?
I think it was a Kylo Ren trilogy.
Do we really want a Kylo Ren trilogy? Is that something that we're looking for here?
Well, we just want to repeat the prequels. You want to know how Darth Vader turns evil. Let's see how Kylo Ren.
But don't we
rinse and repeat, baby? Nostalgia goggles.
Don't we know he's always evil? Like, do we have to follow Kylo Ren like he's an 8-year-old because Luke Skywalker was going to kill him at 8, apparently? For a split second, of course.
Or a spoiler alert for The Last Jedi.
Yes, that is true. Spoiler alert.
Oh, well, it's okay. I think everyone's seen it by now, but you never know.
I feel like, yeah, that's true.
People get upset over any
So,
spoiler.
overall, what about you personally? Are you happy about this?
I could care less. I mean, just make something good. That's all I want.
See, I'm torn by this because on the one hand, I'm happy that they're gone, But Ryan Johnson's also apparently was getting a Star Wars trilogy, and I feel
Yeah.
like I trust we'll use your term, the D&D brothers, before over Ryan Johnson.
Okay.
So
I
I
know
don't know.
you aren't the biggest fan of Ryan Johnson.
I am not.
Ever since I learned that yesterday at the theater.
But okay, I have some news for you.
Yeah.
One of your favorite movies last year is officially getting a sequel.
What movie is it? Is
Uh,
it the
in
first 15 minutes of Bumblebee?
That'll probably get a sequel as well. But no, the Into the Spider-Man.
Into the
Try this
Spider-Man?
again. Into the Spider-Verse.
I like Into the Spider-Man. That's my actual favorite movie. That's awesome. Very good. I really like this take on Miles Morales. I'm not gonna lie. When Peter Parker, spoiler for Ultimate Comics, when Peter Parker died in the Ultimate Comics for Marvel and replaced by Miles, I didn't know how I felt. But Miles proved to be, he's a good character. So to see him done well on the big screen is great. And then that movie was awesome to watch. It's debatably, in my head, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies as well.
I think
So
it's in the conversation
yeah,
of
right.
solo Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. So
Do you think we're gonna get more Spideyverse, or do you think we'll get more Miles?
I think more Spidey verse. I think it's gonna play along that lines again. I don't know how they're gonna bring it back though.
That's
the
what
question.
that's
It's
what
gonna
I'm.
be hard, right? Who knows? Well, Sony made the smart decision by getting help from Marvel and Feige. So hopefully they continue that trend.
Any other news?
Uh, yeah, we got another insectoid sequel.
Which one is that?
I think it's Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. Oh, Ant-Man 3.
Ant-Man 3, baby.
Is that so it's official?
Yes.
That'll be good. I'm excited to see that storyline end.
Yeah. Whoa. End.
Well, I feel I guess Thor is the exception right now, but I feel like you get 3 movies and you're done.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
what
been
happens
the
to
standard.
everybody. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you like that Marvel approach, or should if the hero is good, they're young, they're viable, there's obviously more stories to tell. Should they keep them?
It depends on the popularity, right? I mean, Thor got one, so nothing's really set in stone.
Do you think Thor got one because of how good Ragnarok was compared to the first two, and how good the Thor character was in Infinity War and Endgame?
Yeah, I think that's a big point.
I mean, Ant-Man doesn't bring in the money like some of the other characters do, but they're solid movies.
Yeah.
And they don't cost a lot to make. They're just more the fun kind of...
Mm-hmm.
Both Ant-Man movies have followed an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty good if you can follow an Avengers movie
Yeah.
and be viable. Like, expectations, you just had an Avengers movie, and it's like, how do we follow that up? We'll give you some nice fun in Ant-Man.
Yeah, some good old family fun with the kids, and shouldn't take. Plus, maybe he'll be featured in Disney Plus shows that come up as well.
Well, you know what the Disney Plus show I'm most looking forward to?
Which one?
The What If.
The What If? That's cartoon animated.
Yeah, but they'll all be back to do it, right? Like even
Yeah.
Chris Evans can do Captain America.
Yeah.
I would love to see some of the What Ifs because you can do anything for that.
Yeah.
And it could be like little 30-minute episodes.
The comic series?
The what? Like
the What If comic series?
Did read or watch? Is there a show? Like I don't know. What
you would read it. It's like a
what
series.
did you
So
watch?
it had like what if Wolverine killed the entire Marvel universe and they made an entire comic book series on that, or like what if Spider-Man saved Gwen Stacy? So they have like a lot of things about that. For this, I'm assuming all the what ifs are going to be directly related to
the movies.
MCU.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited for that because, like, you can go back into Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 and pick things out that you're like, what about if Captain America didn't get stuck in the ice, right?
Yeah, there's that. What if Thor never got his hammer back? Stuff like that.
Oh, that could be a good one too.
Yeah, what if Loki was really the hero? What if Loki won that battle in New York, right?
Oh yeah.
Some is like, what if Tony Stark died, or what if Ultron didn't make? What if Vision actually was evil? That'd be a pretty good one. Like served Ultron.
Huh.
Interested.
It's true. Okay. You ready to get started?
Yeah, let's get into
I'm very excited. All right. Terminator Dark Fate. Xavier, what are your opening thoughts?
I kept thinking in my head that they cannot make a movie worse than Genesis. Genesis was one of the worst things I've ever seen, and there's no way to go but up from here. You can definitely, I'm like, when I saw this movie, I'm like, it might be bad, but it can't be Genesis bad, right? Definitely not, right? Don't you think so, Mike? No way.
I would assume that, yes.
Well, I got shocked because it is worse than Genesis. I cannot believe that they actually made a Terminator movie worse than Genesis. And I love how like the way the trailer sets up, it looked like it would be a good movie. It looked like they're all the right steps. I'm like, okay, you got Linda Hamilton back. You got a mixture of the T-800 and the T-1000 with the two the robots and everything like that, right? It's interesting take, you know. And then they just bombed it. I don't know how you execute something. Somebody went to that place with the script and they all said this was a good idea, and they gave this idea money.
Greenlighted it.
Wow, just shocked. It's like the Emoji Movie. Someone greenlighted that too. That's all. This is where we're going, and that's my opening thoughts. We'll get real deep dive of how I feel about the characters' choices and their decisions and the cinematography and the action and all that other good stuff.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Okay. My childhood was ripped away from me last night a little bit. A little. Like, I love Terminator. I love Terminator 2. I cannot think of a movie or a franchise. I cannot think of a franchise that has fallen more from grace than the Terminator franchise. You have Terminator and Terminator 2 versus T3, Salvation, Genesis, and now Dark Fate. What the heck is going on? Can you think of a franchise that's been more, has fallen more than this franchise?
Maybe the Alien franchise?
I guess the Alien franchise has been, especially if the Prometheus goes in there, has been bad.
Prometheus definitely in.
But I don't. I'm sorry, but these Terminator movies are unwatchable. I don't. Listen, this Terminator franchise, is harder to terminate than the Rev 9 in this movie. Seriously, who asked for this movie? Was anyone out there be like, you know what we haven't seen in a while? A Terminator movie. Let's make another one.
Yeah, we gotta keep rebooting the Terminator number 3, right? Terminator number 3 didn't work. All right, let's go. Let's see. Salvation. Let's see. Oh, nope, that didn't work. All right, reset. Let's go. Genesis. Oh, okay. You guys don't like Genesis? Okay, here we go. We got it for sure. Dark Fate.
I like it. Yeah, like what kind of franchise has to keep rebooting its number 3 movie? It's like, okay, so Terminator 2 is really good. Let's try this Terminator 3. Nobody liked it. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna Salvation this up. We're gonna go right to the future. Oh, nobody liked that. We had Christian Bale in it. He was Batman. It didn't work. Okay, we'll put Khaleesi, Daenerys herself as Sarah Connor. Surely that's gonna work. We'll restart.
What if John Connor was evil?
And then, okay, all right, we'll bring back Linda Hamilton. That will do it. I'm sorry, 4 times trying to be a sequel to number 2. You failed. What are the positives in this movie? Sorry, none. Okay, maybe a couple laughing scenes I laughed at, but no, there's no positives. I got nothing. Negatives? How about everything? The villain, the portrayal of the T-800, the over-the-top unrealistic action, the killing off of John Connor, major plot holes to the other films, not develop the future of the time period you're now creating. And I think we're going to go over all of this over the next 4 hours as we talk about Terminator.
Yeah. Totally forgot before we started. We have lots of spoilers already, and we kind of said a big spoiler in the spoiler alert, so sorry about that. But if you've been listening to this podcast and listen to every episode and everything like that, you should know by now that there's going to be major spoilers for this movie.
Okay, I'm ready to rant. So before we get started on the actual deep dive, I have a question for you. What happened to this franchise?
Um, it's like I said, man. They're trying to reboot number 3, and they have a fixed station and trying to get number 3 going, but they just can't find a way to make the story work.
See, I have a theory on this. I have an idea. See, and I think this is what happens. 1 and 2, they make a ton of sense. And ever since 2, they've been trying to outdo themselves. They tried, and by outdoing 2, it's caused them to fail. Think about this. The first Terminator movie features the villain as the T-800, right? This infiltrator Terminator who looks human and is really hard to kill. Not impossible, really hard. And when you get to the future, the weapons are able to do it. They can use teamwork. But in 1984, the weapons weren't there, and it was one guy that no one believed was from the future. So it made sense, hard to kill. Terminator 2, we have the T-1000. Almost impossible to kill, right? Just a liquid kind of thing. But what makes it work in the future is that it's just a prototype, right? It's the one-of-a-kind gone back to kill John Connor. So it means the humans in the future don't need to kill it. But now think of the last 3 movies that take place in the current time. In T3, you have TX. In Genesis, you have the T-3000. And in this movie, you have the Rev-9. All of these Terminators are impossible to kill. Not even working with the T-800 can you kill these Terminators. Which begs this question. How can a human resistance exist if these Terminators exist? They're not possible to kill. And we know this from what Grace, our futuristic girl, human girl in this movie, what she says. She says,
don't fight it, you run from it.
Yeah, you don't kill them. Even the T-8 in this movie says they have a 16% chance to kill it, and that's with a T-800. Mm-hmm. So this begs to the question, how do humans stand a chance with the fighting? It takes away from the ability to believe that a resistance can even happen. How can you be engaged in a movie when you're like, wait a minute, if they have this Terminator, why don't they just use it in the future to kill everyone? Like how is Skynet or Legion in this movie, how is it able to lose when it has Rev-9s?
Maybe the future weapons are all EMP based, but it doesn't look like it because we see scenes from the movie that seem like the humans have 0 chance.
So I really think that's where this franchise has failed. I really do. I think their inability to just keep it simple. Just remember, like a good franchise, less is more. Go back to your basics. Like, why do you need to go crazy?
Just trying to make that big blockbuster.
But you can make a blockbuster. Terminator 2 is a blockbuster film. It made a ton of money, and it's still better than most other movies of that era. It's still probably, it might still be the best Terminator movie, and I don't think it's close.
Still, it is the best Terminator movie.
I think so.
Look what its competition is. It only has like one competition.
I guess. I still think it's maybe one of the better movies of all time too, right? Like, I don't know. It's really good, really thought out, and I don't think that. I think they pigeonholed themselves in this, and now they just let's just try changing things. It doesn't work. Stop it. Start again. Do something different. All right. This movie begins with a scene from 1991's Terminator 2. Sarah Connor is in a psych facility explaining this concept of Armageddon, how everyone's going to die. Do you have a point to this scene? Why did our director, Tim Miller start here?
Nostalgia. I think that's what it was for.
Pure nostalgia. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Because it has you can agree, it has no fundamental aspect.
It was only brought up, I guess, maybe once when they're at the border,
and she just tells us the story.
Yeah,
I don't feel like this became relevant really in the story.
It wasn't a big deal. Not that I think of. Not that I know of. It's not. Didn't change the movie or anything like that. I guess trying to maybe explain why Sarah Connor's traveling the world.
Maybe she basically says,
did she escape custody though? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand. But basically, she says she stopped Judgment Day. That's kind of the point. And then the movie kind of starts in Guatemala on a beach in 1998, 3 years after the events of Terminator 2, because Terminator 2 took place in 1995.
Okay.
Okay? And then the T-800 just comes and kills John Connor.
Yeah. Just
And then
blasted.
walks off the screen. Xavier, what did I do to you? I tapped you on the shoulder after this happened, and what did I do to you at that moment?
You're like, I'm tapped out.
That's what I did. I tapped. I'm out. Does this introduction make sense to you?
For me, what do you, for more along the terms of the Terminator coming out of nowhere and just killing him after? Because the real concept is Skynet's been sending Terminators every 2 years to kill John
Well, we find that out later.
Yeah.
Yes.
But at the start, I was like, okay, I guess that's the reason why she is the way she is. This John Connor's dead.
Well, here's what. No, this is why it doesn't make any sense. Why would you send a T-800 in 1998? The apocalypse happened in 1997. Skynet is now active. Why is a Terminator being sent in 1998? And how would this Terminator know where John Connor is? Because if the apocalypse was supposed to happen, John Connor's supposed to be in hiding for the first couple years of the apocalypse, is what we gathered from Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah. And this is why time travel is confusing, because now I'm thinking, is this a different timeline?
Okay.
Or is this...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. It's fair enough. I was just trailing off.
Okay, and then fine. So let's say it's just this is the next year they decided to send it. But why not? Why did they not send a Terminator between 1995 and 1998, or between 1984 and 1995? Like when John, well, why didn't they send him when John was a baby? Like, why this time period? It's like, okay, we need to kill John Connor. How do we do it? Because we already let him survive the apocalypse. We got to figure out a way to kill him, and we got to kill him like in the beginning of the movie, so the movie can't be about him. Didn't you feel like that's what happened?
Yeah.
Like, and then, okay. Arnold in 1995 would know that Skynet was sending more Terminators, right?
Probably.
So why did he kill himself at the end of Terminator 2 if he knew more
question.
Terminators were coming? He's in
question.
Skynet's head. He would know. We know this from later in the movie that because that T-800 is going to help Sarah Connor. He knows all the times when Skynet's coming.
Yeah.
So why did he kill himself?
No idea. That
Okay.
That was my question too.
So then, and if we find out as the movie goes on that they're sending Terminators every 2 years since 1998. So why, going back to my second question, why didn't they send any Terminators between 1984 and 1995 when Skynet's not even activated yet to make sure that they got him dead? And then again between 95 and 98. And then why, if Arnold would have known this in the Judgment Day, why did he terminate himself? I keep coming back to these questions.
Yeah, that's the first many plot holes.
And more importantly, why would Skynet in 1998 send a T-800 when they already sent a T-1000?
No idea.
Why not send the better machine?
Or why not send more?
Oh yeah. That's my last question. Or my fifth question. Why not send 3 Terminators at the same year?
Or 5.
Or 5. Or 10. Send them all at the same time.
Send an entire army.
Like, it doesn't make sense. And lastly, this is 2019, correct?
Yeah.
And they've been sending every 2 years since 1998. So the last one would have been 2018, correct? By the first movie, we find the humans beat Skynet in 2029.
Mm-hmm.
So by 2018, John Connor would already be leading the resistance. Why are you sending Terminators?
Who knows?
They would have already developed these Terminators.
The one thing I do want to mention, which isn't really a good excuse, but in the movies, in the TV show, they introduced that many people come from different timelines, so which I think is really dumb. That's why time travel is really confusing. So they have a character on the show that's in love with this one girl who's his love interest, but he's from a different timeline where he was tortured, and in his timeline he's not tortured. They're both from different futures, though, which might be the reason. It's really dumb, but that might be one.
But again, this is all post Terminator 2 when things weren't good.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is these 6 reasons why I kind of explained is why I tapped out. I'm trying to explain to you and the audience why I've tapped out of this movie. Mm-hmm. I cannot get on board at this point because you've already basically said to me, you've shit on the first 2 Terminator movies and says, we want Linda Hamilton back, but we don't want the story arcs to continue. So we have to figure out ways to close them in the least ways to make sense. We have to bring Arnold back somehow to make him look old. We have to kill off John Connor because I don't know why. Theoretically, he never has to. They could keep this story going with John Connor alive.
He could. Why not have him alive and have him one of the helpers too? You know,
like because it's a female power movie. The 3 women are in charge.
Oh, that makes sense then.
That's what I gathered from it. I could be wrong, and don't quote me on that one. Mm-hmm. So that's why I kind of tapped. But this leads to the question: why kill John? Like they could use him, and more importantly, like. If you're going to kill John Connor, like if you don't want him around, why not just make another movie, call it The Terminator, and just start it again?
Yeah.
Like you don't. If you do that, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one story arc. You can be as creative as you want to be.
Fair enough.
Okay. Like I just. Okay.
All right, moving on.
It just failed. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. So the movie kind of am I nitpicking too much on this? And maybe that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm nitpicking. Do you think this is nitpicking?
Not necessarily. I mean, for your reason, it's more. It's where you want to tap out, right? I don't think. For me, I wasn't that upset about John Connor's death.
No. I'm talking about this entire everything I've said so much. Like about the timeline and things like that. Is that nitpicking this movie?
It's not really nitpicking. It's the time travel is confusing, and you're just pretty much bringing up why time travel is not the best thing to bring into to a franchise.
Okay.
But this is based off of time travel, so.
So the movie then kind of officially begins with how normal Terminator movies begin with people coming from the future, and they are going to enter in Mexico City, and our first person that's going to come is Grace, and who's going to enter from under a highway in the middle of the air.
Yeah.
What? And even the Rev 9, he enters in the middle of the air. What are your thoughts on them entering in the midair instead of on the ground?
I don't know. I guess it was trying to make make it interesting.
If those were humans, they would be dead.
But they're not.
But if they were, I'm just saying, like I don't like it. I think they just try to create that cinematic effect of Grace hitting the bridge, falling down, to make it look like, oh, is she okay? Like, there was no point to this.
Yeah, but we all knew she was going to be okay.
I guess. I just, like, I get what you're saying, but I just don't agree. I just think it's they really wanted to push her. So she's an augmented human, which means she's, like, got cyborg parts. Is that how you gathered it?
Yeah, she's just enhanced.
She's enhanced. She's an enhanced human.
She's powered up.
Yeah. So by having her fall from the bridge, like hit like a couple beams, fall like, I don't know, like 300 feet, 400 feet to the ground, and like spit out blood and all of that, I just think that it's unbelievable. And you don't need to make that unbelievable. Like, that's something you can control. Have her land on the ground, do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I guess, fair enough. Yeah,
like, I don't know. Like, it didn't do it for me. I'm just watching. I'm like, but at this point, we don't even know she's augmented. I'm like, she's human. Like, what? Like, this goes back to our Gemini Man talk where Will Smith gets hit in the head with the tire. It's like, that's just unnecessary.
Yeah. That should have killed a regular person. But for me, I knew she was augmented because of the trailer, so I just knew she was fine. So that's why. If you watched the trailer, you probably knew that there was nothing wrong with her.
What did you think of Grace's character throughout this movie?
She was all right. You know, she seemed a bit of an asshole, to be honest.
A bit?
Yeah.
Just
everybody seemed like an asshole in this. There's just my problem with this movie. One of my problems was the swearing just seemed so forced and unnecessary. Like all the F-bombs, it was just one of those F this, like get out of my effing face. I'm gonna effing kill you. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like I know this is 18A. Like from the guy that wrote Deadpool, where that also has F-bombs, but it's more. It makes more sense. It sounds like more flowing. It doesn't seem forced. It seems a lot more natural. This one, it just seemed like, yeah, let's just drop him to drop him.
Yeah.
And none of the jokes really.
But I felt like that about everything. Nothing was really necessary in this movie. Everything was very forced. The swearing, the action, I want to create some suspense. Let's drop someone from the top of a bridge and make them be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was very violent. Like she's like hurt humans.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in the future she's told like where humans have to work together, but she has no problem like banging humans' heads like.
She probably knows they die earlier too, right? Because he says the only person that matters is Gabriella, who will be introduced later. But I see why she's Danny. Sorry. I see why she is the way she is, because she's like, I don't care about anybody else. I just got to protect Danny. If these people die, who cares? They're probably going to die anyways.
I guess.
Apocalypse.
But what happens if they were someone important, though?
She would know.
I guess. Would she, though? Because she has no idea who Sarah Connor is.
Yeah, but she's from a different future.
Yeah, but
where Skynet and John Connor and Sarah Connor never existed.
Yeah, but at the end of this movie, spoiler alert, Sarah Connor trains Danny.
Trains Danny?
Yeah, they go off in the same car together. She gets trained by Danny. How does that's one of my later questions. How is Sarah Connor's probably is still a big part of
but
this
I think
world.
It was I think it changed. It wasn't like
it couldn't have changed because that's why that's why Danny goes at the end of the movie to keep an eye on Grace to know where she is so she can befriend her later on.
Yeah, I think she
just like
saved
the first
her
Terminator movie.
No, I think what happened, so this is the thing about time travel that confuses it. So what happened is the first timeline was Grace and Thing never met beforehand. No one came in back in time to help her out. She just trained herself. She taught herself how to save everyone. And then Sarah and now the Rev 9 came back. Because then technically...
Your theory doesn't work in this franchise. Because we've already had this, right? Have you seen the first Terminator movie?
Yeah.
The first Terminator movie disproves your idea. Because Reese comes back in time and fathers John Connor.
Yeah.
So they clearly, when you go back in time in this franchise, what you do in the past affects the future. So they always knew, Reese always knew John Connor always knew he had to send Reese back. He had to keep an eye out for Reese because Reese had to go back to impregnate his mother to be so he could be in existence.
Yeah.
We see that even in Genesis, right? It's Reese that goes back.
Mm-hmm.
And John knows. So you can't just change the concept of time travel in the third movie when you've already created this in every other bloody movie.
I guess fair enough. I think
that's a very
time traveling is always confuses everyone.
But you have to be consistent, Xavier.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and they're not. This movie's not consistent
with time traveling.
It's not. I don't like her. I didn't love the character. I liked her. Like she was good. She's badass. She's like that, but. Meh to her. So then we meet Danny. And Danny she works at a car plant. She's our new John Connor character. Did you buy her as that John Connor character?
Not yet. But they had a little bit of a saving grace with like when you first meet me, I'm not gonna be the one that looks like that. But then you do see burst of her saying, I'm not gonna run away, I wanna stay and fight or else I'd rather just die, right?
I didn't buy it. Didn't buy it at all.
I know, because you tapped out.
No. Hey, I don't think you bought it either. I think this is a load of crap. Because when in that scene in the future where she's trying to mobilize those troops, I heard you laughing at it.
Yeah, I laughed because it was...
She was not believable. Trying to muster those troops. There's like no charisma there.
I laughed at that part?
Yeah, you were snickering. You're like, what the hell's going on?
I know all the parts I laughed at. I don't remember laughing at that one.
I feel like Danny's more of a Sarah Connor.
Mm-hmm.
She's more of that scared girl from Terminator, the first Terminator movie, the scared, shy girl that doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, I did see
a little bit of John. I did, but I feel like they were trying too hard to make her John. I really did. Like, if you're gonna make her like you saw it, like there's scenes that you see her being John, but I don't know, like I didn't buy it the whole movie. I guess I probably am nitpicking here. I'm probably nitpicking a bit. So at this car plant, we get our first major action sequence. There's a fight in the factory. There's this huge car sequence with the Rev 9 and Grace fighting each other. Did you like this sequence?
It was all right. I like the reveal that they can swap. That
Who can swap?
Yeah, they can. Well, not swap. One's like an exoskeleton, and one's
be
like
specific to the audience that hasn't seen the movie.
9. The Rev 9 can split into half, so it can turn kind of like a T800 and T1000. It's like a mixture of those two.
It's got a liquid body,
liquid form,
and then the robot form.
Liquid exterior, and then a robot interior.
And they work in unison together.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
I thought this action sequence was okay. I think it's the best of all the action in the movie.
Yeah, her brother gets killed.
Yeah, the useless character. I did like my favorite part of it, Sarah Connor's entrance.
Yeah.
Like it looks like the two of them, they're cornered. One the robot on one side, the liquid on the other side.
He runs in,
and then Connor comes in, hits the robot with the car, hits the liquid with the bazooka.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'll be back, and then
drops a grenade.
Yeah, drops a grenade, and then the other two just leave with their car. So we got to see the Rev 9 in action. His strengths, his powers, you talked about it, can split. He's a tank. What did you...
Pretty much invulnerable.
Yeah. What did you think of him?
I like the concept. A bit... The concept is really cool. Just the fact that they can... I'm like, that's actually would probably be the best next step, right? You can have them as form two robots in one, right? You pretty much have two robots in one. And then if anything bad happens, you just switch it up, right? Then you can just double the power. So, it's being very efficient. So, I think in a battle, Legion would beat Skynet in a death battle.
Yeah, I agree with you. Conceptually, it's really, really brilliant. And again, like I said in kind of what I think's wrong with this franchise, she's too OP, or sorry, he's too OP. Grace herself says this. I don't see how a resistance can beat an army of Rev 9s.
Yeah, no, that's the problem with it. The Rev 9, as long as they should have made at least the interior significantly weaker, like killable like a T800, right? Significantly weaker than the T1. But this thing was taking all kinds of beatings and not dying at all. No scratch or anything like that.
You asked an interesting question off air. You asked who would win in a battle, this Rev 9 or the Transformers. The Transformers would be destroyed. Like he would beat all the Transformers up.
Yeah, and it's half their size. That's the thing. Well, the movie Transformers.
Yes. Are these two Terminators or one Terminator? This Rev 9.
I think.
And what I mean by that is, if the liquid died, would the robot be able to live? And if the robot died, would the liquid be able to live?
I think they're two separate Terminators because, spoiler alert to near the end, the liquid form dies first, and the thing's still able to operate and try and kill even though the liquid's gone.
Yeah, so it's like you said, it's a mix of two Terminators, like the T800, but a much obviously stronger T800 that can't be, it's invulnerable.
Yeah, it can't get killed at all.
Yeah, and the T1000. Okay. So I agree, concept good, but I don't necessarily think this. I think this movie would have been better in a lot of ways if science created the Rev 9 and humans had to stop it. The whole movie was stopping this Rev 9 that was raging havoc on the planet. I don't know. I don't know if that's better, but I feel like that'd be a better concept movie. Do you think that Sarah Connor was able to take these two parts of the Rev 9 on very easily?
Yeah, because she had the upper hand of surprise on it. She surprised him. If it was like a straight up like them across from each other, no chance. But because she came as a surprise, I can see.
And they wanted her to have a big entrance. I think
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. Like, I have no issue with this. Like, I like this entrance. I'm okay with her dominating this really OP person or robot and then coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ladies get to introduce themselves, and they have their, sorry, not ladies. The Grace and Danny have this talk, and Grace is augmented, and you like the fact she's augmented.
Yeah.
I don't.
Why?
Because now they're machines. And I have a question. Why wouldn't
machines? They're cyborgs.
It's fine. They're not, but the whole part is to destroy machines. And let's say you talked about this EM pulse that they're going to use, right? Would that kill them?
Maybe they have a resistance to it. Who knows?
Okay. Why don't all humans augment themselves then?
Maybe they don't have the technology for it. And we saw the world. It seems pretty lacking in.
I'm glad that you said that, because that leads me to this question. We find out with Grace that a lot of her problems, because she's augmented, she has a lot of problems. She needs a lot of medication.
Yeah.
Where does she get all this? Where does she get all this medication in the future? That where they have no factories to produce it. How do they produce all the medication she needs? She lists off like 5 things when she goes to the pharmacy that she needs to grab.
Maybe they have factories that they raid, right? And maybe the machines are making it for fuel or something like that. Who knows?
That actually makes sense. Maybe that's where they get it from. But I wasn't a big fan. I'm not a big fan of it. So Sarah ends up rejoining them, and then they have the good alpha male kind of thing. Who's stronger?
Yeah. Well, alpha female.
Alpha female, yes. Sorry, you are absolutely correct. Typical alpha female discussion. Are you surprised that Grace didn't know? We kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
I just think she is. It should be. So there's 2 potential. The plan is to go to these coordinates, right? So 2 things about them. Sarah has been given. We find out the location of all of these Transformers every 2 years, and she's got it from this phone from this location.
Yeah.
And Grace has them tattooed to her stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Any doubt who the person giving the information to Sarah Connor was?
No. Well, you knew it in the even if I didn't see this in the trailer.
I didn't see the trailer. I knew it was no doubt. It was Arnold.
Yeah.
So they have to cross the border to get into the United States. They can't, because obviously Danny's Mexican and a legal immigrant, and apparently there's America's Most Wanted TV episode on Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
So this, I guess, brings me to another plot question. How does Sarah kill these Terminators every 2 years?
I don't know. That was my question too. If she's wanted, why is she? How does she travel and everything like that?
I mean, the thing is, like, other than in this movie, all the other Terminators in every other Terminator movie enter in the States.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to kill John Connor, and John Connor lives in the States.
Yes.
So if they're always coming there,
he also knows a guy in the military. Maybe he's like sending money.
Okay, good question. Good point. Then why doesn't she go to him to get into the States now to make it's so much easier in this movie?
Where was he located? She knew a guy.
In Texas.
Oh, in Texas. Yeah, so he could have came.
Yes, he could have.
Yeah. Who knows what happens to him? He's one of those characters that disappears midway through the movie. Oh, no, he died in the plane, I guess? Because he was on the plane, right? Yeah,
he wasn't. He wasn't on the plane. He was the one who ordered the. We'll get there, but okay. No, he didn't. So they have to cross the border, and they use her grandfather to help. And as they cross the border, they get captured by ICE, who is waiting for them because the Rev 9 has given their location. They all get arrested, but they're able to break out in time and escape on a helicopter. Did you like the action sequence in the ICE building?
I'm not gonna lie, this one was probably my more favorite one.
It's the most believable action sequence in the movie.
Yeah, this one was more my favorite one. Just seeing the Rev 9 go into action and just totally wreck everybody because they don't know what they're fighting. They're trying to pile on top of him, and he's stabbing them from his from his back and everything like that, which is pretty cool. You know, good weapon, and he used it many times against in the final fight too. So at least they didn't forget his powers, like Apocalypse. He blows people's heads off, and then he decides to just throw rocks at people.
Yeah.
Or is that Dr. Doom? I forget.
Whatever. So then we meet Arnold. So they arrive at the coordinates, and Arnold, a.k.a. now Carl, the T-800, in this movie, and we find that he has grown a conscience. I don't know if there's a more stupid part of this movie than the T-800
I knew
growing
you
a
were gonna hate
conscience.
that part.
How is this like? Look. This is a machine who's been programmed to terminate.
Mm-hmm.
How does it grow a conscience?
Well, terminated. He explained he terminated, and he didn't feel like he. This is the classic debate.
How do machines feel? They're not programmed to feel. This isn't a cyborg. This is a machine. If he has nothing to do, he has no mission. We know this from the other Terminator movie.
Yeah, but is it an art? But he also is an artificial intelligence as well. So.
He's not AI. No.
Do you think
Skynet is the AI? Skynet has programmed him. He works for Skynet.
Yeah, but wouldn't some form of that AI be in the machine?
No. Why would you put your own consciousness in them? This isn't Ultron who's created a bunch of himself.
Yeah.
It's more like the Matrix, where the artificial intelligence programs the Sentinels to go do their work. They're not AI. They're the T-800s of the Matrix universe.
Maybe, who knows? I have no idea.
Come on, you have to admit this is stupid.
I wasn't 100% on board, but I wasn't like as upset about it.
What did you like about it?
I was like, okay. I was thinking the way I thought about it was, okay, so he didn't have a mission, and I thought maybe he is an AI, and that because he's an AI, he grows a conscience. I was thinking of like the concept of Westworld, and I thought that sparked a debate, like, oh, can machines think, or blah blah blah, you know?
They wanted Arnold to be good. They had to figure out a way to make him old. This is the only reason it's done this way. Because if this was 20 years ago, or if Arnold didn't age, they would be using the actual Arnold Schwarzenegger and bringing him back as well. Like this was bad.
I should have made John Cena.
I would love to spend
9.
10 minutes talking about this and how much I hate this, but I'm getting a signal from him over there that we need to keep going. So, but I'm going to tell you this right now. This is the worst part of the movie. The absolute worst, because it's a machine. It's a machine. It is not it doesn't have conscience. It doesn't. You can't just grow a conscience. He's a program killer. Your computer isn't going to magically change how it does things. It pretty much marries someone and raises a child. It's a Terminator. That's all. It knows to do one thing. The whole concept of Terminator and Terminator 2 is, Reese says in the first one, it's a machine that continues to kill. That's all it does. It kills, it kills, it kills. It doesn't know anything else. Does not rest. It just kills. And you have this new machine that's just like, you know what? I like drapes. I like to fix people's drapes. I think that's a good thing. At least make him, if you want to grow him a conscience a little bit, at least make him a contract killer to make sense of it. What? He feels bad that he kills John Connor? Really? Bullshit. It's what it is. It's all it is. So they have a conversation on what they're going to do. And Grace has a plan. And Grace's plan is to stash Danny in a mine shaft.
That's the dumbest plan I've ever heard in my life.
That was going to be my question. Can you explain to me, can you tell me why you think it's dumb? Because I can tell you why I think it's dumb.
Because it's going to find her in the mine shaft? Like, what?
But even if it doesn't find her in the mine shaft, even if the mine shaft's buried in like the most remote location and is never found, guess what's going to happen at some point?
She's going to have food.
Okay, let's say the mine shaft is full of food. It's got enough food to last you for...
She's going to have to leave?
To lead the army.
Yeah.
And when she leaves and tries to build up her army, guess what?
The Rev 9 comes.
Exactly. It's not like the Rev 9's just going to disappear.
Fair enough.
Is that what she thinks is going to happen? Is that like legitimately like her plan? Like the Rev 9, you know what? It'll get old. It'll die. It'll rust up.
I think they were just trying to give a bad plan so that the other plan sounded a lot better. The kill box plan.
In T1, like there were ways to kill the T-800, right? They just needed an army, so they can go into hiding for as long as they needed to, because when eventually, you know, the T-800 will be killed by an army. This doesn't make, and T2 it's a prototype again. Like Danny will never be safe, ever. Never ever be safe.
No, you have to kill it before it's safe.
So Sarah's plan is to use Danny as bait and to get an EMP to try to kill this thing. that apparently will fry the brain. But will it kill the liquid part of it?
Yeah, it's an EMP. The liquid part is the
There's no
robot
machine
too.
in it, is it?
There's
Isn't
a
a
machine.
liquid?
There's like probably like I'm assuming they didn't explain it. I'm assuming it's nano machines.
Okay,
And nano
I guess that
machines
makes
can get
sense.
killed.
So to get the EMP,
Metal Gear Solid, baby.
while they're getting this EMP, they get attacked by the Rev 9. How does the Rev 9 find Carl's place to begin with? Like, I know how they find the car, but how does he find Carl's place?
Probably knows where the helicopter landed.
Like, but they landed a kilometer away.
Yeah, but he can probably tap into where the helicopter
I
is,
I
right?
guess you're right.
Connected to a radio, blah blah blah. Murdered.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I thought the same thing, and that's what I.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense. So they're able. How does Sarah know this major, and why didn't the major help him into the country?
I don't know.
Yeah,
We got into that though.
Yeah, we did, I guess. So the major gives them this EMP pulse. They get it to the base because they're able to like distract the Rev 9 for a bit, and they get onto this plane and they take off. And the Rev 9 is stuck on the ground. In the airplane, Grace tells us about the future, that Danny is John Connor, and that Logan, there's the new Skynet is Legion. Did we get enough info about this? The future in this movie?
Future? Not really.
No, like we got more information about the future in the first two Terminators in each individual one than we do in this movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't have a future planned yet, or they want this movie to do good and then go to it.
He says he defeats Legion, but Legion still send it to Rev 9, so maybe like it's not fully defeated.
And what is Legion? Like
probably an app. This day and age, it's always an app.
Yeah. So
the new iPhone, the iPhone 47.
The airplane gets under attack because the
Siri. Sorry. Legion is Siri's husband.
Okay. That's funny, I guess. So they're on this airplane, and the Rev 9 apparently is able to find another plane and somehow catch up.
Yes.
Somehow. And then crashes into the plane, and then we get this action sequence in the plane as it's falling into the ground.
Yeah.
Did you like this action sequence?
I didn't care for it, but
like
whatever.
This was the most unrealistic action sequence I think of the year, maybe of the decade.
But okay, but actually, maybe something in Power Rangers. I forget what happens in Power Rangers. I try to forget it in my
This
mind.
plane is crashing down, and they're all like dancing around, shooting each other.
Well, the Terminator is more believable because I think they're strong enough.
You're right. You are right. I agree with you.
And maybe Grace as well. But Sarah Connor and Danny,
they're yes,
they're stuck against like
yes,
you cannot move.
And then they get into the
able to open the door and get inside and put seatbelts on.
Yes, and then the Humvee is kind of like thrown out of the airplane, and Grace is able to, again, that makes sense, to lift the parachutes, but they're not all the way lifted. And it crashes onto the ground and then falls into water, and they all survive.
Yeah. I don't know how they survived that.
It makes no sense.
They should have died like
3 times in that sequence. And that plane was falling for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That plane would have been down in like 30 seconds. Maybe not 30 seconds, like 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah. It was like, it's heavy. And there's 2 planes falling down.
Yeah. Exactly.
Imagine being like explaining this to like the police. Hey, there's a guy that came to the auto shop today and he just murdered 15 people. And then the same guy that did that, he was at a border place and he murdered 15 guards. And now there's a giant airplane that crashed into each other. And spoiler alert, he murdered a bunch of people. Do you know who this guy is? Like, I'm surprised the cops didn't try to arrest him at the time. When I saw him, right? I'm like, isn't he the guy that killed everybody? And they have his picture.
Yeah.
You guys know where a helicopter is?
I like how you're trying to make sense of a movie that makes no sense. I guess I'm doing the same thing, so I'm just as guilty. So after this scene, we have the T-800 who was fighting in Lake Mead, who loses an arm. Grace is barely moving; she's doing her normal crash thing because she has no more drugs. Sarah and Danny, who leave the bottom of the Colorado River, they are taking their dear sweet time in the pitch dark as the Rev 9 is in the water that could grab them at any second.
Yeah.
Am I setting the scene up all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it looks like they're about to die, but the T-800 returns and, of course, has with it
the drugs for Danny. This is a huge...
Not Danny.
I mean, Grace. That was such an anime moment, like Dragon Ball Z Goku here at the last nick of time. That's what I felt like. That's what I was like, wow, okay. In perfect condition after crash. Like, he's like, yeah, I found this. Like, I'm so sure you had that when you were fighting Buddy in the car. I was like, wow, we're watching anime. Like, why did they even have to add that aspect that, like, she needs drugs to function? It's not really enhanced, to be honest.
No.
Because you only short bursts, and then you're like...
Yeah, she can last for like 5 minutes, and then she's done.
And then you're like... Story of my sex life, ladies and gentlemen.
So they go into the Hoover Dam, and they're going to establish their kill box now. So, again, a one-armed T-8, it's T-800, Grace, who's severely depowered, and 2 humans with 1 gun.
Yeah. Let's do it, baby.
Now we're going to have a kill box.
Yeah, well, she has the power. They have to. They have nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go at all. And then we have this action sequence where Grace is just whipping a chain around.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The chain whipping was pretty cool.
I will agree. That was a cool sequence.
Yeah.
Did you like this final action sequence?
It was better than the plane one.
Again, what's seen in the movies in the last decade is not better.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it wasn't the worst thing that I've seen, but
they end up throwing together Grace and the T-800, the Rev 9 into the
some spinny thingy.
Yep, and it gets caught in there, throws everyone away. Grace is pretty much dead because she's been stabbed through the stomach, and the explosion gets the rest of her. The T-800's knocked
the
unconscious.
Rev 9 liquid's form is GG'd,
but it's still alive, and Grace says to Danny, "Kill me. There's the power source in me.
It's an EMP. Convenient.
Yep.
Anime moment.
Yep. And she's able to, now that this robot is kind of a little bit weaker, Danny's able to knock it down, and with the help of the T-800, who's just magically wakes up, stab it in the head and kill it, and the T-800 dies in the process, and Danny's dead.
Scene. And I think that was the worst scene in the movie. The T-800 that killed John Connor we're supposed to feel for, that we know nothing really about. I'm supposed to be sad that this machine died. I wasn't sad.
Not even a little bit.
I was like, oh, okay. But they really, it's like, oh, no, he's dying. He's like,
but
the music was so sad.
But Xavier, he had a conscience.
Yeah. See what having a conscience gets you?
Killed. That's your thoughts on the ending? Just brutal?
Yeah.
I had a different thought.
What did you thought?
Thank God.
Oh.
Thank God. All right. Do you have anything else you want to talk about in this movie?
No.
I have one more thing. So I was so excited today when I got home. I want to see how badly Rotten Tomatoes ripped this movie, because I was because I don't look at reviews before I see a movie or write my review. So as soon as I was on, I'm like, I'm gonna write my as soon as I'm done writing my review, I checked Rotten Tomatoes. This movie has 70% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 87 fan approval rating. What the bloody hell am I missing?
You're missing the good action sequence. Maybe the plane scene is the best scene, and maybe we're the wrong ones.
Play devil's advocate for me. What's good about this movie?
How am I just gonna play devil's advocate when I don't even myself know what's good about this movie?
I can't. I really tried thinking about this. I spent an hour thinking about this.
Usually I can, but this I was like, oh wow. Oh no, okay, there you go. Every little saving grace that I had, they're like, you know what? Let's just throw it out the window. It's like, you know what? Plot, dumpster fire. Characters, dumpster fire. Let's see. Villain, dumpster fire. Just keep lighting it up. Put it in the dumpster fire, baby.
What are you giving this movie out of 10?
I'm gonna give it. A. What did I like about? Oh crap! It might be a 1. 1 out of 10 for me. I finally found a movie worse than Replicas for the year.
I'm really thinking this might be unquestioned. This or Dark Phoenix are going to be unquestionably the worst movies of the year. I'm going to have to do some soul searching next month when I create my bottom 10 of the year. But this movie's going to be in the top 10 of the decade, I think. Like, this was bad.
Is this Power Rangers? Beats Power Rangers?
This is Power Rangers level bad. But I'm going to go with a 1.5. I'm going to go 1.5 for this reason. I like the concept of the villain.
The Rev 9.
Again, remember, for those of you listening for the first time, a 2 is considered unwatchable for me, and I've only gone below a 2 3 times. This is one of the 3 times. 1.5. I mean, Arnold wasn't even that funny in this movie. And normally you can rely on Arnold for a good one-liner here or there. We didn't get that.
No.
We really didn't. You know, I'm really maybe I should go. Maybe I'm at a 1. I'm trying to think of reasons. I'm dropping it to a 1. I'm going 1. 1 is my final answer.
All right, there we go.
2 1s. All right.
Well, that's it. Terminator Dark Fate, baby.
Can I tell you something? I feel a little bit better. I ranted nice and good on this.
Good. I'm glad you feel a lot better.
All right.
I wonder how the listeners feel.
They probably tuned out like 10 minutes in. They probably heard us 10 minutes and like, "Oh my god, I will never watch this movie." The only people that listen to this entire thing are the people that like the movie and are ready to like write reviews and comments on how.
Oh no, they listen to the first 5 minutes and then respond. People that like the movie aren't going to listen to the full thing. They're like, "You know what?" It's like you when you tapped out at the beginning.
But I still watched the whole movie.
They tapped out about the John Connor thing. They're already typing their responses right now.
I didn't even spend that much time on John Connor.
That's a little bit of a debate.
Really? You think I spent that much time? I think I was more talking about the timeline more than anything.
Well, the timeline with John Connor in it.
That's like the point of the first 2 movies.
Yeah. No.
All right. I'm done. I'm moving on. We're moving to Harriet. All right?
Okay.
Opening thoughts on Harriet.
With Harriet, the way I feel about it is pretty much I'm not the biggest fan of movies of this time because it's always awkward to kind of watch, and then I don't want to watch a movie that makes me depressed all the time and just feel bad and just like, oh man, like this is like, I get it, I get it. I'm not.
What do you get?
Slavery. I'm not saying slavery was the worst thing, probably one of the
You're
worst.
You're not going to Kanye West this up?
Yeah, I'm not going to say slavery was a choice or anything.
Good. Don't do that. That is not true.
I just don't like seeing movies about slavery because I'm like, how many movies on slavery do I have to watch? Like, I get the point. Slavery was the worst thing ever. This thing I liked though. I liked it because it didn't and it usually brings it out to the forefront where it's like, this is the bad, and like if it's about this certain time period, they don't tend to take away from like the character. But with this one, it's about Harriet, and slavery kind of takes like the back burner. It brings light to like a very powerful, not just like a black woman, but like a black woman as well, right? This is, if you want to do movies about females, this is how you do it, right?
Amen.
It's 100% what you have to do. But yeah, I was very surprised and I really enjoyed this.
I'm not surprised at all. I told you this. I thought this is going to be a good movie. This is about a fascinating woman with a fascinating story. The bigger surprise is it took this bloody long to make a movie about Harriet Tubman. Like, no disrespect to Solomon Northup,
mm-hmm.
but Harriet Tubman deserved a movie before you. She's arguably the most influential African American in American history. At least she's in the conversation of it.
Yeah.
Her, Rosa Parks, probably the top 2. But, I mean, she's phenomenal. And listen, Xavier's right. Like movies about depressing things can get depressing, and they also can alienate certain people that want to watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they made this movie about the White Depression, it would take away Harriet's story, and they didn't do that. This is Harriet's story, and it's a story that anyone from anywhere in the world, from any continent, from any culture, from any ethnicity can watch and understand a true hero and what they're all about. Her her character is not her character. Her real character, the real Harriet Tubman, is a hero for anyone. You know, everyone talks about Martin Luther King and the peace movement. She was anti-violent. Yeah, she was a badass. She carried a gun. She was didn't take crap from anyone, but she did not believe in the violent.
She didn't let herself get walked over.
No,
Right?
and didn't believe violence was the answer. We
Yeah.
don't go to war over our problems, right? We work through a peaceful solution, and they really did a good job in this movie showing that. And again, Xavier said this best. This is what female power should be about. Not hating on men, but showing that women are strong on their own. Not because men are putting them down, because women are strong people. And what I really liked about this movie, the acting was good across the board. I love the way the story was told, and I love the portrayal. I think Harriet Tubman gets a very, I don't want to say, I would say a very traditional feminine portrayal a lot of times. That she's this really good, nice person. It's not who she was. She was badass, which is what people should know about her. You know, we always talk about like this archetypal character that's coming around now, where the woman kicks butt, right? Atomic blonde, all stuff like that. Well, Harriet Tubman is the first woman in American history to command a division of the army. You tell me that's not badass? You tell me that's not tough? You tell me that's not impressive? There's probably been a handful of women up until the 90s that have that, maybe none since before the 90s that can have that honor. That's how respectable this person was. And I'm so glad that they added that scene at the end to do it like that. But if you read a lot of books about Harriet Tubman, like there's a lot of kids book about it. They don't have the gun in her hand. They don't have her being this really tough person that she is. And I think this movie did a really good job. If I had to think of some things I didn't like, I didn't particularly like the religious element. You know, they really had like I mean, there are, if you hear her talk, she talks about how she talks to God. And I mean, if you're religious, I guess there's nothing wrong believing that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong believing that. I didn't love it. It would have been better if she just had better instincts, if they focused more on that, because I think it would have made it would have made it for a better story. I do think there were some loose ends. Like I know her story, but it would have been nice we get to know the end of her story. It would have been nice to get to know some of the ends of some of the other characters in the story as well, like William Still for one of the examples. But those are my opening thoughts. All right, so the movie kind of begins in 1849. Harriet had hired a lawyer to prove that her mom was supposed to be freed, because that was the deal that her slave owner's dad made, that the mom would be free at 45. And she's now married, Harriet is, and now wants to have free children, because if she has her husband's a free man, and if she has children with him, the children would be the slaves of her current owner. So she wanted freedom. The owner, she rips it up and says, "You'll never be free." Why do you think they started the movie here?
Just to see why she wants to leave, right? She's been trying to use the legal way to leave, and even when she did have legal proof that she was supposed to leave, it was discredited. So, plus it also shows up the times, right? Even if you had legal proof, didn't mean anything. The guy ripped it up, right?
Yeah,
Even to go a little bit spoiler into the future, right? One of the free slaves was just murdered in their own home, and they were not a free slave. She was a free woman her whole life, and she was murdered in their own homes, and no one batted an eye, right? So just show you a little bit of the times as well.
I agree. I think that it shows some of the racism that people did have, and you got to make sure the racism's in there, right? Because you don't want to cookie cutter it.
Yeah.
You got to show the true elements. I think it's important. I don't think you need to be dark with it, but you need to show that it existed and that it wasn't an easy time. I also think it shows value of slaves. We really find out that her family are some of the there are what she's got 3 or 4 brothers. Her mother's a slave, and 5 slaves is worth like $2,000 in that household. So at that time, apparently the farm is worth like $5,000. To give you an idea of the value of slaves, like I think that shows like they don't want to let them go, which again shows you the time.
Yeah.
So she
the economy was like hinged on slavery.
Yeah, in the South, absolutely. So she ends up going to pray that her owner dies, and he does. And ironically, apparently, this is a real thing. Like the slave owner did die, and apparently Harriet admits that she did pray for it to happen in one of her meaner moments. And when he does, the son decides he's going to sell to Harriet, and because he's vindictive, because he had heard the prayer.
Yeah.
Now, the son is a fictitious character. So why do you think they created this son? The son is a very big part of this movie. Why create such a main character to be
because it's a biopic, right? So they want some sort of I'm assuming she didn't really have a true what's the word I'm looking, antagonist, right? She's the main character, so they always have to have an antagonist. So I'm assuming the other guy that helps him was a fake character as well, the black like slave hunter.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So I figured both. If anyone, I thought he was fictitious, and I didn't know. But I'm not surprised because you need to create intense to the story, right, and more relationships. So I figured he wasn't real.
I think that it allowed to create an antagonist that is many different characters in one.
Yeah.
So her life is. You can't tell her life story in 2 hours.
Yeah,
her life story is way too. But even this time period, right? This movie really covers really a decade span before the Civil War, and she does so many things. She experiences so much. So to have one character like represent all of the negative things she experiences, and kind of give her like one villain that the audience can understand, I think that's really good for the audience. I mean, it allows him to take on all of the different attributes that you want to take from different slave owners that she may have encountered. So I really like it. But like. His father, the slave owner that died, is a real character, was the real person, and I think this is where and he was really rumored, or there was a rumor going around that he was going to put her up for auction.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's why you start the movie there as well, because in reality she would be put up for auction, and then she would have to go to a more southern plantation. And for those of you who do not know, Harriet Tubman was from Maryland, and Maryland is it was on like the border with the northern states, right?
Yeah.
It borders Pennsylvania, which is a free state. They're more liberal with their slavery than you would get in the deeper South, like Georgia or Texas.
Or Kentucky. Was it Kentucky there?
Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, right? Like Maryland was like I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking like. It's more PG compared to some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Not that it was good.
It's not good.
No, it was brutal.
As
we see from some of the marks she bears.
Yeah.
But as you saw in like Django Unchained, like it could be a lot worse.
Fed to dogs and everything like
that. Yes, it was not a good time for certain
Still
people.
Treated somewhat humanely.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say that.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just saying like it would be, and they know that it's worse there. So she has 2 options: go down south for a harder life, or just run for your freedom. And she decides to escape. Do you know what I really found interesting in this like first quarter of the movie? The one thing that just fascinated me to no end, the black preacher.
Oh.
So the very first scene in the movie, he's giving a sermon.
Yeah. And he's like, be good, kind to your masters. Don't don't honor your masters even when they're not there. Blah blah blah. Right.
Say always good things about them, and he's like reading from the gospel.
Yeah.
And this is like the fascinating thing about religion, and like Karl Marx really deals with this with like, which is why he doesn't like religion, because people who are uneducated rely on the priests, the preachers, to preach to them what religion is, how to live a good life. And you have this preacher saying, you better listen to your master. Slavery is what God wants.
Yeah.
Like, fathom that.
I know that was an interesting take too.
It is that I just find that fascinating. So she escapes, and she offers her brothers to come with. They're too cowardly to go, and then the husband wants to go. In reality, though, he didn't. In the reality, he wanted to stay. So she goes by herself, and she escapes and makes 100-mile journey to Philadelphia. And on the way, she stops. She sees her dad. She sees the black preacher. We find out is one of the cogs on the yep.
Road.
We have the bridge scene where she jumps off the bridge into the water.
Freedom or death.
Freedom or death, which I respect that to no end. She gets onto someone's carriage who is gracefully enough to take her into a little bit of safety.
Conductor though, because they used him again.
I think so.
Not a conductor. What's a station?
Yeah, guy. someone that was anti-slavery.
Yeah.
They had the blacksmith, and then she gets to Philly finally, where she meets William Still. What are your thoughts on this sequence? Like this is a big chunk of the movie too.
This is exciting. I liked it. I tried to see a little bit of stuff. Like, look, this is intense, scary, but knowing the history, you kind of know what happens. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I liked it a lot, and it showed that everyone had to help, right? It wasn't just African Americans. It was the white America too. That yes, many people in the South were racist, but there were good people there that were helping out in the Underground Railroad.
Couldn't do it. Everyone had to do work together, right? You can just be solely black, right? Because people wouldn't care. They'd be like, "Oh, where are your papers?" They'd rip it up and just kill the person. No one that would know bad an eye, right?
Did you enjoy every part of this sequence, or was there maybe one or two things that you're like?
There's one part where I was like, "Is this necessary?"
What part was that? What part did you not really like?
It just shows her peeing and like, I don't know.
The only thing I have against that scene is like, I feel like in 1849, if you were in the woods, whether you're a man or a woman, black or white, you'd be doing that exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know the necessity of showing that.
I didn't need to see that because I was pretty sure I knew that would probably would have happened. You know, I know people pee and poo. We don't need to see it on screen.
So the next question I have for you is: could you make that 100-mile journey?
Probably not.
There's no way I'm doing it. Like, I'm soft. There's no chance.
If I tried to escape, I'd probably get killed. I can't even swim, so.
I could swim. I think I can make it to the bridge, but she tells us, the audience, when she gets to Philadelphia, she went days without food.
Yeah.
I would have passed out.
No, I can run without food. I just need water. Would I just eat grass?
Well, what? Yeah.
Anything to survive, baby.
What does this show you? What does this show you about Tubman? This is a big sequence of the movie. They definitely wanted to emphasize it. What does this show you about her character?
She doesn't give up. She doesn't quit. She's smart. It shows you a lot of things about her character, right?
Tough, resilient.
Well, rather, if she can't have what she wants, she'd take death, right?
Yep.
She says it's a theme that she says a lot throughout the movie.
Well, this is reality, right? Apparently, she carries a gun throughout it. The scene where she's kind of doing her first mission when she goes back and she turns the gun on the other African Americans. Yeah. She does that in real life. Says, you coming with me. You're either dying here or you're getting freedom, because she knows what that's like, what slavery is like, and the fear that these slaves have, right? Mm-hmm. And by escaping, she's gotten rid of some of that fear. So she stays in Philadelphia for a year. She works odd jobs, but she wanted to go back for her husband. So she does. She takes. She stays at this girl's house, Marie. Now, Marie is also a fictitious character. Yeah, I'm sure there was a character like Maria in Philadelphia, but they're not named Maria. Again, she probably represents a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad when biopics do this. This is Harriet Tubman's movie. This is not anyone else's movie. You can have some. Obviously, you want to have some of the key players, her family, William Still, some of the other people, but you do not want. You want to make sure you get as many of her stories in as possible. She didn't always bring her slaves back to William Still. There are other people in Philadelphia that were part of the Underground Railroad, or other places she went to during her time in the Underground Railroad. But making just William Still the go-to guy makes it easier to tell the story, and for the audience to get on board. So she takes the train down, but when she gets there, she finds out her husband has been remarried. Do you blame the husband for this, for getting remarried?
Well, you thought she was dead, right? And I guess in that time you want to repopulate and get remarried because life wasn't that long. So it's probably pretty much a product of its time. We've seen other people remarry too after people have left as well. So,
well, in the movie, I don't blame him at all because he wanted to go with her.
Yeah.
She went away without him.
Yeah.
And then of course he gets beaten for her.
Yeah.
And then he thinks she's dead. Like, I mean, I feel like that's an acceptable time.
Yeah, right.
But in real life, no. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, no.
Like you didn't want to go with it. You didn't want to go with her. You gotta wait.
Yeah.
So she struggles with this because, like, obviously this is her husband.
Yeah,
she's very
she
religious.
came back all the way for him, you know.
So she goes back to that tree where she normally goes to and prays, and her blindfolded dad appears and tells her to free your brothers or her. And she ends up, I think, taking 9 African Americans with her.
Baby. An old lady and a baby.
8 of them. 7 of them are just her age-ish. One of them is an old lady and one of them's a baby.
A baby.
What are your thoughts on this return home?
It shows her what her meaning is. Like, kind of the introduction to her being, this is my bigger cause, right? Like, I thought I was here for my husband, but no, I'm here to change the world.
Yeah, I'm here to
the American world.
I'm here to free as many of my people as I can.
Moses, Black Moses, baby.
Yeah. We also get introduced to Bigger Long here. And Bigger Long is like he's an African American who hunts down runaway slaves.
Yeah.
Now, again, based on a fictional character, or he's a fictional character, but based on there were African Americans who did go
hunt their own, right? You could make a lot of money off of that, right? And you could kind of lie to them, and be like, "Hey, trust me, I can help you." Like, "Oh, I found him here," you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wild, wild west out there, right?
Yeah.
Some people find that they need to make money that way, right?
Yeah,
traded to their own people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think if you really think about it in terms of like characters in the movie, he was the most vicious and the fictitious slave owner Gideon. He was a coward in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
And he almost showed like he loved Harriet.
Yeah.
Whereas Bigger Long, he was ruthless.
Yeah, he did not care. We saw that he was a real piece of crap because he's the one beating the crap out of a female lady.
Killed her.
Offensive lady, and then killed her with stepping on her face.
I really like the return home sequence, like where she crosses the river, and that the people who were like, "I'm not coming," and she turns the gun on them, and then after they cross the river, she's like, because her name wasn't when she lived in
I think it was Minty.
Minty, right?
Yeah.
And she basically says, "I'm not Minty anymore. I'm Harriet Tubman. That's my free name. I'm in charge. You're listening to me."
Yeah.
And I love this scene because you have all these men who think they're, the kings.
They know the better way.
Yeah, and they're all the cowards that wanted to run home.
Yeah.
And the brothers twice were going to run home.
Yeah.
And this girl who's already made this 100-mile trek, putting her butt on the line for these guys, you're going to listen to her.
Yeah.
I don't
know why you wouldn't listen to her.
Yep.
Like, she survived it.
After this, she gets introduced to the Underground Railroad by William, and she starts with her mission. And they call her Moses. They have no idea who she is, and this is true, right?
Yeah.
This is why people call her the Black Moses, because she was freeing her people, and no one knew her identity.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Do you think they spent enough time in this movie on this part?
Yeah. Because, like, there's only so much time you can show people getting freed, so I like that they did a great little, like, montage of it instead of, like, showing every single journey.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that statement. So then we get the Fugitive Slave Act that gets passed. And this is a big part of the movie. And the Fugitive Slave Act pretty much says that if you help a slave escape, you will be punished. And any slave that is found in a free state has to be sent back to their slave owner. Did you think this was important?
Oh, of course it was.
Can I tell you something? It was not.
Really?
This act was not passed when it was passed in the movie. This act was actually passed in 1850, about a couple months after Harriet Tubman escaped. So it was passed well before she even started her first mission.
Okay.
And they didn't really stop the Underground Railroad at all.
Just for a little bit of drama, then.
That's exactly what it was in there for. So she did spend time in Philly. But she also spent time in Canada. She was in St. Catharines, so right next door to us. She when she went back to the States, she went to Auburn, just like in the movie, and that's where she actually died. So these are all true. The only thing is the act was passed a lot later.
Okay.
So this is clearly done to make the movie look better, right? And are you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. You need some sort of like drama, right? It's like created a lot of tension, because then what they would do is like, what's a better option? Just constantly create montages of them going back and forth.
Exactly. And this is the thing. There's not enough time in this movie to show all of the great things she does. So this little bit of exaggeration is okay, because it lets her. We get this really good piece of dialogue by her where they're talking about, well, I guess we're done the Underground Railroad because of this, because now we'll just have to wait for a civil war. And Tubman's like, no. You guys either were never slaves or you don't remember what it's like to be slaves. I do. We have to go help as many of them as we can. Like, that scene may never have happened, but she did do things like that. So this just gets us to see that that's really her type of character.
Yeah.
So I have no issue with that. I actually like it. I like that little. It's based on a true story. It's not if it was a true story, it'd be a biography.
Yeah,
you have to. You're telling a story, and I want to know. I want you to show me that Harriet Tubman's a great person, and I want you to show me why. And they do that in this movie. So her last mission, she goes back to her old plantation to get her sister and her sister's kids. Sorry, her sister's kids, because her sister is dead at this point, and her parents. And this is the climax of the movie. She has to sneak out using like a half-white girl who looked like her white father, and she's able to trick them out. It's a little funny scene. And then her Gideon and Bigger Long, they see right through this, so they go hunt them. Harriet tells all of the runaway slaves to go without her, and she creates a diversion. Yeah. And I really like this scene, because it really shows her badassness in action. This scene's put in there for it. So, Bigger Long's, I guess, about to kill Harriet. So, like,
he's about to shoot her. Gideon shoots him. Because
right
before Gideon's like, "Don't kill her. I want her alive." And Bigger Long pretty much ignored that order and was about to go kill her.
And then Gideon kind of gets cornered by Harriet.
Yeah.
And Harriet tells her to put down her gun, or his gun, and he puts that down.
Tries to sneak another one. Shot right in the hand,
and he loses like 2 fingers.
Yeah,
great scene. But more importantly than that, it also shows her character, because she has this guy dead to rights.
Yeah, he's about to get murked.
She shoots the other bullet of the shotgun, and then throws the gun away, takes his horse, and lets him live.
Yeah.
It really kind of shows you what kind of person she was. Refuses to kill. So you like that scene?
Yeah, no, I liked it. It was great.
Again,
a great speech at the end too.
Yeah, and even though both those characters are fake, they're based on real life characters, and we get to see her doing her thing. So the movie kind of ends there. We get one last scene of the Civil War, which she's a big part of, right? She was a spy during the Civil War for the Union Army,
and she
led missions with to save slaves. She saved, I think, 750 slaves during the Civil War. I think it's needed. Do you think it's needed to have that? even though it's a couple years later, 5 years after the last
It's just
scene.
a nice little thing to kind of be like, oh, but there's more.
Yeah, they could have made a whole movie about her in the Civil War.
Yeah.
In fact, if anything, I would have liked it to end there and then a sequel, Harriet 2.
Harriet 2.
Or just this movie called Tubman. And then you could watch them together, Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
No, too much?
No, actually, it's a pretty funny idea.
Maybe. And then after that, we had some post-credit script where she just talks about like when she died, things like that, lifelong. So were you satisfied with the ending?
Yeah.
I was too. What did you learn from this movie? Because you knew a little bit about Harriet Tubman, but I'm sure you learned something from this.
Yeah, I didn't know the Civil War part. I knew the Underground Railroad part mostly. I didn't know the Civil War part, so I'm not gonna lie. The Civil War part is something that was new to me, so I probably should see that movie instead.
I would love to know. I've seen biographies on, biographies on Tubman. I've done like a paper on her, so I know a lot about her. It's just it's good to see it in her on screen. Get the credit she deserves. Would you have was something missing from this? Would you have liked to see something?
No, if we saw more, it'd just be too long for the movie. So anything else would be. There's only so much they can show. So
I would have liked more time in the Civil War. I would have liked to see her in action, but I get why they didn't do it. I'm not. That's a nitpick. It's not really a criticism. Anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
No, I think we're good settled.
Okay. What are you giving this movie out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm also giving it a 9 out of 10. Well, we're on pace today. Yeah. The religious thing, I didn't love it.
He's just antichrist, and he's a Satan
I'm not
worshiper.
Anti-religious. I'm Catholic.
He's a Satan worshiper.
People might believe you.
That is so true. That's the scary thing.
People might believe that.
Well, now hopefully they don't believe him now because we confirmed that, but he actually isn't. This is a joke.
I teach at a Catholic school. I am very Catholic.
Yes,
but I would have liked her to start. I get why they did. I didn't love it. It's the only thing I really like. All right, shall we move on to our top 10?
Yeah.
All right, we are doing our top 10 movies with robots in them. I will go first because I think you went first last time.
Okay.
So my number 10 movie is Ex Machina. And I really like this movie. I was actually really surprised. This movie wasn't even on my radar of movies to watch. It was this movie that was like an indie film that got a little bit of buzz. Mm-hmm. But it fascinated me. You have Oscar Isaacs, who plays this like scientist who invents this artificial intelligent android. And he brings in like one of his top engineers to see if she's actually intelligent on her own. And he falls in love with her, even though she's manipulated him to fall in love with her. Mm-hmm. She poses as someone who's vulnerable, even though she's not vulnerable at all. And in the end, gets her comeuppance on both her creator and this guy. And I think it's just absolutely brilliant. I think this is Alicia Vikander's best role. She's so good in it. I love Oscar Isaacs. And I really like this movie.
Okay. Me?
Yep.
All right, my number 10 is Alita, which is shocking to you.
I don't even think you gave this movie a good review. I want to go back to the tape.
I like the character Alita, and I liked the action sequences. And I'm not gonna lie, I gave it a 6 out of 10, and I wanted to see. Plus, I said I wanted to see a sequel.
You did say that.
So I liked the world. I like Alita. I like her toughness. Full on robot, and just a great character. I thought the movie, for its flaws, whatever, but I liked the concept in the world and everything like that, and I liked the little game that they played, and it was interesting to me. And it's one of the I think it was like our 4th episode for the podcast.
I don't know. Take a look. This is our 39th episode, so yeah. I mean, right there, we're moving and grooving along this.
Yeah. Number 9 is Chappie. I know this guy hates the movie. I liked the movie. I thought it was funny. Chappie, it was a charming character to me. The way just watching him learn to grow and then get influenced badly because it's an AI and he learns as he goes. Everyone's just like he's like him and his little swears like, "Hey, yeah, owe me money, mate," like stuff like that in his little accent. And I just love the name Chappie. Chappie, it's just a great name. And that's 9 and 10.
My number 9 movie is Real Steel. I absolutely love this movie. I really did. And to me, this is Rocky. This is Robot Rocky. And you have 3 kind of characters that kind of resemble a different element of Rocky in this movie. You have like Hugh Jackman that kind of has like that down on his luck kind of part to Rocky. He's intelligent, but like that the bad part of Rocky. You have his son that he's trying to bond with. That's like Rocky's innocence. And then you have this robot Adam that has his like I'm never dropping. Like I could just take a beating every single time. And I really think this movie worked really well together as we see like there's so much going on. Father and son love and coming together. The boxing elements of robots. I remember when I saw a preview to this movie, and I actually watched the preview because I had no intention of seeing it. And it turned out to be I was wrong. This is one where I would eat my words. I really enjoyed it. My number 8 movie is Bicentennial Man. Have you seen that?
I saw it. No, I saw it when I was looking up robot movies.
No. It's a fascinating movie with a fascinating character played by Robin Williams in like one of his best dramatic roles. And Andrew is Robin Williams' character. He is introduced to the house to perform like household duties and maintenance duties, but he's kind of defected. And this movie deals with themes like what does it mean to be human? It deals with slavery and prejudice because Williams spends the movie transforming from machine to man. He changes all of his parts to human parts. Like basically, and even his first owner, Sam Neill, he basically, when he finds out that Andrew is different, he could get a new machine instead. He's like, no, I want to keep him. And he lets him develop. He lets him be creative. He creates his own business. He ends up marrying like his granddaughter, or well, when it's life. Because can a robot love?
An AI can. So and it can also kill.
So these are all things to do, and it's about fighting for the rights of what it means to be human. Stuff that we talk about all the time. I mean, like we can look at our last movie that we reviewed, Harriet. Right, there was a time when Africans or even Asians were not considered human. Right, look at Nazi Germany where Jews weren't considered human. Right, we can look at a lot of movies where people lose their rights as not being considered human. Women weren't considered people in Canada until 1929. So these are real life issues that maybe we're gonna have to deal with one day. And I liked it. I liked the movie that showed it.
Deal with it every day.
All right, what's your number 8 movie?
My number 8 movie is I, Robot with Will Smith. Just a classic little mystery thriller. Follows a guy that does not trust robots at all. Mr. Anti-Technology. And then he actually but his partner has to be a robot solving the mystery of a murder. And then by following the mystery of the murder, they find out that the robot is pretty much Skynet or the Matrix or everything like that. AI decides, let's just kill a bunch of people, right? And great little adventure there. And Shia LaBeouf's in it as well. Funny character. Just kidding. My number 7 is I'm going to put 2 movies together. Alien and Aliens with the android. So, we've talked, I think this has been on my list a couple of times, so I'm not going to go too much details. We all know there's a robot in there, and that's it. I've talked about it many times on our top 10.
Take a look at other top 10 lists, right?
Yeah.
My number 7 movie is the original Terminator. It's just a great concept, and it still holds up today, right? Like the one thing about James Cameron movies, and you use Aliens as another James Cameron movie, but he doesn't try to do too much normally. In fact, that's, and if anything, his problem lately is he does try to do too much. But what made him a great director is he takes a simple story, a creative story, and makes it work. And the Terminator is that in a nutshell. What he did was brilliant. A war in the future between man and machine, and having Arnold Schwarzenegger in the role that made him as the T-800 fight against basically all humans in that movie, killing everyone with like no dialogue, was great. And the twist in the end that Reese is actually John Connor's father, like nobody saw that coming. So it was just really well done. My number 6 movie is iRobot. I'm going to second most of what Xavier said. I really liked it. I mean, you have this guy who hates technology, who doesn't trust robots, and not because they're bad, because the decisions they make, they're not human, and we're giving them too many responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, if we can learn anything from robot movies is don't trust robots. If you create AI, they are going to conquer the earth. You see this in that's one thing that all these movies have in common. Yeah. Listen to the Will Smiths of the world. And Will Smith, that might be one of his best roles ever.
That's true. It could be. All right.
Your number 6?
My number 6 is Ex Machina. Oh, my God. I was going to say Machina. So, like I said, second everything you said. The fact that this robot, is it intelligence? Yeah. Spoiler alert, it is. It played both of you guys like a fiddle. Right? It's just great. Like, I agree with you. Alicia Vikander, one of her best roles that she made. The concept of the robot, the way it looks is good. It's just a nice, simple movie. It's not too, like, overly complicated. Just a great... I really enjoyed watching this film. When I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting.
Surprisingly good, too, right? Because no one heard of that.
Yeah, right? It's just weird. I'm like, oh, what's this? It got a lot of buzz, but... we know why. Word of mouth helped this movie a lot. All right, my number 5 is Big Hero 6. What good fun this movie was. You know, it just had overcoming, working together. You know, has a young protagonist, has an older brother that seems to be better than him in everything he does, that he looks up to. Brother passes away, gets killed. Interesting twist. We all thought the brother was really the bad guy, but it ended up being, spoiler alert, the professor. Just having people work together as a team to try and defeat this guy. It's very good. I think that was like when Disney just had back-to-back animated hits, like Pixar and Disney just had back-to-back hits. Then they still have the hits, but you know, Cars 3, The Good Dinosaur, couple of mishaps in between.
Just there. Pixar. Disney's been on point with their animated. Mm-hmm. My number 5 is Marvel's Avengers: Age of Ultron. I mean, look, we got 2 robots in that one. You got Ultron and you got Vision. But what I really like about Ultron is, here's the thing about him. At the end of the day, he is, I think, one of the better or the most underrated MCU villains. He has Skynet-like qualities, but he's got a lot of Sonny and Andrew in him, right? He's an innocent young kid. Yeah. Like, he is like a little boy who doesn't understand what's going on. Like the scene where he accidentally cuts off the guy's hand. Like, mm-hmm. you don't expect that. He misunderstands who the Avengers are. He thinks they're the villains because he doesn't know any better. Yeah. But in reality, they're on the same side. They both want to help humanity. They just have different ways to do it because artificial intelligence, as we saw in every other movie, their go-to is to make the humans the problem and then kill them all off the planet.
Yeah. The problem with the planet is, the problem with humanity is humanity in itself.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But I guess that's been my pattern of these 4 movies, because there's Skynet and then in iRobot there's the whatever the machine, whatever that is. Age of Ultron is Ultron, and my number 4 movie is The Matrix. Oh. And again, artificial intelligence created to destroy the planet.
The Matrix counts?
The Sentinels. There's tons of machines in
Oh,
that.
those Sentinels. I guess those
the Matrix
robots.
in itself is a machine.
I need to redo my list. I was thinking of. I was gonna text you and add it. I'm like, does the Matrix count?
I feel like the Matrix. It's on all the lists of robot movies. Like, I mean, the entire thing is a machine. The Matrix itself is a machine.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
it's like enough. A computer. But no, the Matrix is brilliant, and the only reason
do the list.
The concept.
Sorry, Alita.
The concept is great. The character development is great. The religious undertones of it, as like the chosen one, the Christ-like figure in Neo, is it's great. There's really like the references, the pills, the red and the blue pill, like it's just
timeless, and what it did for modern film and action.
Yeah, I agree. I love it.
A lot of people say like, oh, the action scenes pre-Matrix and then post-Matrix.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
the bullet slowdown, right?
What other movie has action scenes referenced in pre and
I talked about how the action sequence in Terminator might be the worst. The airplane scene might be the worst action sequence in the last 10 years. The scene in The Matrix where he walks into the hotel and like with all the guns, that might be one of the best action sequences in the last 20 years. When it came out 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
It holds up. It's phenomenal.
That is
great
a great
story.
Film.
It's just everything about it's great. What's your number 4?
Number 4 is Terminator and Terminator 2.
You could put them together?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I put Aliens and Alien together too. It's pretty much second everything you did, the great adventure. I love the first scene because it shows, I'm not gonna lie, I like Terminator 2 a little bit more because it shows the buddiness, and then the T-1000 excuse me, is a cool concept as well. Just the relationship built between the T-800 and John Connor. Young John Connor is great, just them hanging out, getting to know each other, and just seeing it as one big adventure. It's a great film, great concept, loved it. And honestly, out of all the robots, the Terminator's skull, like the humanoid skull face, that undertone is just one of the coolest looking things I've seen in robot history. And my number 3 film is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Wow, you had a hard... And yet somehow I always see the Marvel fanboy.
Disney
wear those.
Fanboy.
Yeah,
you've been renamed.
Still higher than. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, Avengers: Age of Ultron. Just a great, like I said, great film. I was gonna mention how great of a villain Ultron is, and you stole that from me. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm here for you, buddy.
But yeah, I always found like everything you second about Ultron that thought I was gonna say and be very profound about it, and now I can't. So I'm just gonna say yeah.
My number 3 movie is WALL-E. And let me tell you something about WALL-E. It ripped out my heart. Like, and jumped on it and rolled over it. Like, listen, yeah, sure, he doesn't talk. WALL-E. But wow. We're talking about a character who's more human than most human characters in movies. Like the bravery, the aspect that he falls in love with Eve. And again, Eve is just a great character who's just doing her job. And again, we have this artificial intelligence spaceship that's trying to keep the humans safe, but really has fattened them up and doesn't want to bring them back to Earth, right? Like, just... I could watch WALL-E. I have to watch WALL-E at least once a year because emotionally, like, I need to be destroyed. And that's what WALL-E does to you. It destroys you emotionally. Like,
well, someone, are you okay?
No, man. I love that movie. Gets me. Like, I think I mean, we're gonna do a top 10 Pixar list one day, and there's a decent chance that might be number 1, or it'll be close to number 1 if not. Maybe that or Toy Story 3. I think those would be the top 2. Like, wow. Like that WALL-E's special. Let's just say that. It's a special movie.
I don't even think it'd make my top 10 list.
You don't like WALL-E?
It's okay.
Please, someone. I do not know what to say to that.
I think I'm more of a. If I want my heartstrings pulled, I look I watch more Up.
I love Up too, but Up is the only the first 10 minutes get you an Up. Wally's on. You're with Wally the entire time.
Yeah, but that the first 10 minutes.
Oh, the first 10 minutes of Up, I agree with you. Devastating. Just don't. Just don't. I can't. Anyway, my number off Disney because off this. Off to something more good. My number 2 movie is Star Trek: First Contact. Look, I know you're not a Star Trek fan. I know that's not even on your radar, but
yeah.
I mean, we're talking the best. This is the best or second best Star Trek movie. You got Data, who's an android, the Borg, which is a machine race, and they go back in time to try to stop first contact with the Vulcans. And I've lost some of you, and that's okay. Just understand it's the best Star Trek movie. And one day I'm gonna make
that's really number 2.
Pardon?
Star Trek. It's really number 2, eh?
Yeah. I love it. This is one of my favorite movies. Like,
oh wow!
One day, from when we go back from the vault and I get my way, I'm gonna make you watch a Star Trek movie, and I'm gonna turn you into a Star Trek fan.
I'm not. That'll never.
It's gonna be First Contact. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. We will be watching First Contact on this podcast in 2020.
Boring.
All right, that's my number 2. I won't spend too much time because I don't think that many people are interested.
My number 2. This is a shocker. I don't think you'd guess this one. Can you guess what my number 2 is?
No, I can't.
It's the Iron Giant.
Oh, that was an 11 for me.
What can I say? This film, I just love the concept of just a little kid and just being buddy with a giant robot. I guess that's why I think this is one of the movies that really set me as a kid. Where my obsession with giant robots fighting each other and everything like that kind of stems from. So this really gave birth to that. Well, only one other movie really has been it to make my obsession with giant robots. But we'll spoiler for number 1. But just in all, just the concept of just the whole movie great, and just the ending sequence. Oh my god! I was like, no. Just me as a little kid screaming no. Like, don't say goodbye. Right? It's like, oh, just what a sad ending. But great. Now, my number 1 movie of all time for robots in them is the first 15 minutes of Bumblebee.
5 minutes.
15. I told you I like the 15 minutes. I like the fight scene in the army too. And that's it for the podcast, guys. Just kidding. My number 1 movie is Transformers 1989. We even have
84.
It here. 84, sorry. I got so excited. I have it here. Dave has the copy. VHS copy right here.
Those of you who are listening, he's holding up the movie.
I'm holding it.
That movie's a lie, though, for the record. They have Optimus Prime on the cover, and I can't like this movie because of what happens to Optimus Prime 5 minutes into the movie.
But it was an amazing 5 minutes. One of the greatest intro songs ever. I have the song downloaded. It's crazy. You got the touch. Do, do, do. You got. As soon as I'm just all in. You know, you just see Optimus taking out a couple of Transporters. I like this because of the realness. You know, kind of introduced me to that. Sometimes the hero passes away, like the hero doesn't live, you know? It introduces, as a kid, you think it's shocking, but sometimes bad things happen to good people. But you got to keep going, and you got to prevail. You got to pick up the pieces and get together. This film helped me grow up. It's just a great adventure, and everybody just working together.
You know, Xavier, that was very well said about how it teaches you that the hero sometimes has to move on. I like that. Was very well said.
Right,
Do you know what my number 1 movie is?
Terminator 2?
It's Terminator 2. It shouldn't be a surprise. My childhood, as I said at the beginning of this podcast. How is this not number 1? I mean, it's brilliant. It's Arnold at his best. It's got some great lines. You talk about with Iron Giant, this kid in a robot. Well, guess what? This is a kid in a robot. A kid teaching a robot how to be human, right? Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons I don't like this Terminator, because he tells this kid that I'm a Terminator. It's what I do. Mm-hmm. You know, apparently in 1998, this Terminator can see a kid and be like, "Oh, I have a conscience." This one does not.
Mm-hmm.
This one just does his thing. He's a Terminator, and the T-1000, the concept of it was brilliant. Robert Patrick was fantastic at it. The action sequences were really good, believable. They weren't over the top as you get moving on in the Terminator franchise when James Cameron leaves it. Linda Hamilton, her transformation from the first one to the second one made a lot of sense because it was 11 years later. So that's all she would have been doing is prepping for the apocalypse.
Yeah,
and it makes sense that she was this tough woman who you should admire. And you know, I think they do a better job of her in this one than they do of the new one, and I really like it. I recommend everyone watch it, and it's a movie that I can watch anytime.
I think everyone has watched it. Yeah. Even I watched it, and I don't watch any of the movies.
Xavier, I don't know if you've been looking for like the last 15, 20 minutes, but Dave has been giving me this eye on some of these movies that we're saying. Dave, do you want to give us anything here on your list?
So I'm surprised you guys didn't mention RoboCop.
Yeah,
I'm not a big RoboCop fan.
Yeah, I liked RoboCop a lot. Short Circuit.
I've never seen it.
Never seen it either.
Never seen it, no.
And no Star Wars. How does that make you feel?
What was number one on your list, Dave?
Star Wars, come on.
You know, the only...
my number 2, Transformers.
Oh, there we go.
Number 3 was RoboCop. 4, Short Circuit. Rogue One, number 5.
Oh, I love that droid. Yeah. That's my favorite Star Wars droid.
He's good. Terminator 2, number 6. iRobot, number 7. Ex Machina, number 8. Batteries Not Included, number 9. And Weird Science, number 10.
Oh, it's a great one, Weird Science. I really like Weird Science. It's a good touch.
I love how...
The only reason Star Wars didn't make my list is I really wanted to focus a list where a main character was a robot. And as much as I like R2-D2 and C-3PO, and Star Wars would be ahead of a bunch of movies on that list, I didn't want to put it on for that reason. But I totally get it. Like, Dave is... Of the people that are on this podcast, Dave is the biggest Star Wars fan.
Yeah, Star Wars is his show.
He is salivating for December when it comes out.
Yeah, this guy never comes with us to the movies. He bought tickets to Star Wars before we bought tickets, so that's how big of a fan he is.
And we're always on top of this.
Yeah.
Fooch is the Marvel fanboy. I'm the Star Wars fanboy.
You know what? I will wear this. I gotta start wearing this with this badge with honor. But I mean, I feel like Xavier's a bigger Marvel fanboy than I am.
No, I'm just a robot.
If you go through the history of our podcast, I feel you always are more Marvel than I am. Like I'm pro Marvel. I'm not gonna sit, but I feel like even what has the better franchise, you went Marvel. I went
Marvel. You went Harry Potter.
I went HP.
Yeah, anyways. Harry Potter's doing bad, so I think I won that argument.
Yeah, we'll see. No one ever commented. All right, I think we're done for the week. We've talked enough.
Yeah.
All right, join us next week, guys. We're gonna be talking about the Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep. We're gonna do we got the Battle of Midway movie coming out midway, and we're gonna go to the vault because next Monday is Veterans Day or Remembrance Day, depends on which side of the border you're on. So we're gonna go to the vault and review Saving Private Ryan.
Hell yeah, buddy!
So I'm excited about that, and hopefully you catch us next week. Have a great week, guys.
Take care, guys. Peace.